My name is Connie Mosley. I'm 26 years old, and on the day everything changed, I walked into my home office after the gym, expecting nothing more than a quiet morning of debugging code. Instead, I came face to face with destruction I couldn't immediately comprehend. For 3 years, my custom-built PC had been my pride, my workhorse, and honestly, a part of my identity. I had spent months researching each component in RTX 3080 when they were impossible to get a Ryzen 9 5900X 32 GB of Corsair RAM and a custom water cooling loop I engineered myself. It wasn't just a gaming rig, it was how I made my living as a software developer. That computer had carried me through long nights of deployment deadlines and big projects that helped me grow my career. When I opened the door, the sight hit me like a punch. The PC tower was knocked onto its side. The tempered glass panel had shattered on the floor. Blue coolant leaked across my desk and onto the hardwood, dripping rhythmically in little splashes. My GPU was bent. RAM sticks were scattered all over, some cracked, some soaked. The custom loop I had designed by hand was obliterated. It looked like the aftermath of a break-in. I stood frozen, unable to understand what I was seeing. My mind couldn't process how something so carefully constructed could be destroyed so violently. I didn't breathe. I didn't think. I just stared, feeling something collapse quietly inside my chest. Then I heard a laugh behind me, a bright, excited, completely oblivious laugh. I turned and saw my boyfriend Carl Carter standing in the doorway with his phone pointed at me, recording. He looked thrilled. "Surprise, Connie, your face." "Oh my God, this is perfect. This is going to blow up," he said, grinning, like he'd just pulled the prank of the century. For a moment, I couldn't speak, couldn't react. I simply looked at him, then back at the ruined machine, then back at him. Nothing connected in my brain. "You destroyed my computer," I finally said, my voice almost a whisper. "It's a prank, relax," he replied as if I were overreacting. "It's just a PC. I'll help you clean it up." He didn't lower his phone. He was still filming, still waiting for a reaction he could use online. Carl was 24, worked in social media marketing, and was obsessed with becoming a viral influencer. Not in a casual way, no. He talked about it constantly, studied trends like Scripture, monitored his analytics religiously, and treated his small 2,000-follower audience like an empire waiting to rise. He believed every day was the day he would blow up. He treated content creation like destiny and any boundary like an obstacle to be filmed. "This is my work computer," I said slowly, trying not to fall apart. "I use this to make money, for my job." "You have a laptop," he said. "You'll be fine. Come on. Don't be boring. This is content." I think that was the moment something in me broke in a way I couldn't repair later. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't reacting the way he wanted. I was simply done. "Carl," I said quietly, "you need to leave." His eyebrows shot up. "What, are you serious? I need you to stay with a friend for a few days. Before I say something I can't take back." "This is my apartment too. You can't kick me out." "I'm not kicking you out. I'm asking for space." He scoffed loudly. "You're being such a baby. It's a toy, Connie. You're obsessed. Touch grass or something." He paused. "This is exactly why I filmed this." I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I didn't defend myself. I just repeated, "Leave." Something in my voice must have sounded different, because after a moment of frustration and muttered insults, he finally stormed off to the bedroom, grabbed a bag, and slammed the front door on his way out. The whole apartment shook. The silence after he left felt heavier than anything he'd said. I returned to the desk and knelt beside the ruined computer. My hands shook when I touched the cracked panel. The loose fittings, the coolant pooling around the components. This wasn't fixable. Not with cleaning, not with spare parts. My work machine, the one I built piece by piece, was gone. Hours passed without me moving. Eventually, when the numbness wore off enough for me to stand, I looked around the room and my eyes landed on Carl's open closet. Inside it was a meticulously arranged collection of luxury items he'd been curating for years. Designer bags, expensive belts, limited edition jackets, pristine sneakers he rarely wore because he claimed the camera picks up creases. He treated those items like sacred artifacts, took photos of them constantly, talked about them like investments and props for his future influencer career. I stared at his collection for a long time, long enough for the anger, the betrayal, and the hurt to settle into something clearer. Carl had taken something irreplaceable from me. Not just expensive, irrecoverable, and he had done it laughing with a camera in his hand because to him, the destruction meant nothing unless it brought attention. I realized then that Carl had never truly understood me or respected what mattered to me. He only understood views, reactions, and the rush of being noticed. So I did what he had never expected. I stood up, wiped my face, grabbed my phone, and started researching the resale value of every luxury item he owned. Not out of revenge, out of balance, out of necessity, out of a painful but undeniable truth. Actions have consequences. I didn't act out of rage. If anything, I felt strangely calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes after a storm, tears through everything, and leaves nothing but debris. My hands were steady as I typed into my phone, searching for the resale value of Carl's most prized possessions. The closet behind me looked like a curated museum of Ego Louis Vuitton crossbody bags he insisted were gender-neutral fashion staples, Gucci belts he wore in every photo shoot, Prada jackets he claimed were signature pieces, limited edition sneakers he treated like fragile art pieces. He didn't collect them because he loved fashion. He collected them because he believed they made him look successful on camera. And he destroyed the one thing that made me successful. Carl had always told me those items were brand investments props for the online persona he was building. The irony wasn't lost on me. My computer helped me actually make money. His designer items helped him pretend he already had. I started looking up resale values one by one. Louis Vuitton, originally $1,800 resale, around $1,100. Gucci purchased for $2,500 consignment stores offering $1,500. Prada jacket, nearly $3,000 retail, maybe $1,800 resale if in great condition. Sneakers, some limited release pairs, could resell for $500, $900. I added the numbers carefully, meticulously, because I knew exactly what I was doing. Not revenge, restitution. By the time I finished researching, I had an estimate close to $7,000, $8,000. Enough to rebuild my setup better than before. Enough to replace what he broke even after consignment fees. I stood up, walked to the closet, and for the first time since Carl had left, I felt something like control return to me. I began moving the designer items one by one from his shelves to reusable bags. I worked silently without hesitation. Each item represented a choice he had made, his priorities, his delusions, his willingness to destroy something important for attention. When the bags were full, I loaded them into my car. It took 2 trips. Carl loved excess. Carl loved being seen. Carl loved the illusion of luxury. And now that illusion sat in the back seat, headed toward a reality he'd never anticipated. I drove downtown to a well-known consignment store, the type of place influencers bragged about. The woman behind the counter inspected each item with clinical precision. She checked stitching, examined hardware, scanned serial numbers, and compared condition against current market value. When she finished tallying everything, she looked up at me. Total payout 7 on 200. We can issue the check today. I nodded. Cashier's check is fine. She handed it to me a few minutes later. I stepped outside into the warm afternoon air and stared at the blue slip of paper. $7,200. Enough to rebuild my computer, upgrade every part, and still have money left over. A strange mix of relief and sadness washed over me. I didn't enjoy this. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady and exhausted. But mostly I felt like I had restored something Carl had broken. On my way home, I drove straight to the tech store I'd been saving up for all year. My old system had been good, great even. But now I had the unexpected chance to build something exceptional. I picked out the parts slowly, thoughtfully, like choosing pieces of myself to rebuild. RTX 4080, Ryzen 9 7950X, 64 GB of RAM, a 2 TB Gen 4 NVMe SSD, a new custom loop, clear tubing, quieter pump, better thermals, a case I'd admired online but had never been able to justify buying, a new mechanical keyboard, a monitor I'd been dreaming about for over a year, and a Herman Miller chair because I deserved to sit comfortably while earning my livelihood. The final total came to about $4,300. I still had nearly $3,000 left in the check, enough to rebuild my life in ways Carl would never understand. I spent the next 2 days rebuilding my entire setup. My friend Liam, one of the few people who saw through Carl from the beginning, came over to help. We worked late into the night assembling wiring testing. There was something cathartic about tightening screws, adjusting loops, watching the new system come alive. It felt like reclaiming parts of myself Carl had tried to trivialize. By the time it was done, the machine glowed softly on my desk, humming with power and possibility. Cleaner, faster, stronger. Everything my old setup had been, and everything Carl had never valued. When I stood up to stretch, I noticed Carl's closet door still open. The shelves he'd once bragged about were empty. In their place, I laid the stack of consignment receipts. Each receipt sat exactly where each item had been positioned with almost ritual precision. Proof of what was gone, proof of why, proof of what his prank had cost. I closed his closet door gently and returned to my desk. I logged into my workstation, pulled up my development environment, and for the first time in 2 days, felt ready to work. My phone buzzed. Carl, when can I come back? Carl, stop ignoring me. Carl, I'm coming home in the morning. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. He would understand everything soon enough. And for once, it wouldn't be recorded. Carl returned the next morning exactly when he said he would, letting himself in with his key as if nothing had happened. I was at my desk, working quietly on my newly rebuilt system. The room glowed softly from the updated RGB lighting, clean, crisp, and calm. Carl's footsteps were loud in the hallway, each one radiating irritation. "Oh, so you're talking to me now," he said sharply as he dropped his bag on the couch. 3 days, Connie. 3 days at my friend's place because of a joke. Do you have any idea how uncomfortable his couch is? I kept typing. I didn't turn around. Seriously, you're still giving me the silent treatment. What are you, 12? His voice edged higher, incredulous. You can't still be mad. It was a prank. People do this all the time. He started walking toward the bedroom. I need to change. I have a brand meeting in an hour, and I need my... The scream that followed was so sharp, so visceral, it sliced through the apartment like a blade. Where are my bags? I save my work, minimize my windows, and turn my chair slowly toward the doorway. Carl stood in the open closet, holding the receipts I'd placed deliberately on each empty shelf. His face was blotchy and bright red. His hands were trembling. You sold them, he choked out. Connie, you sold my bags. I didn't raise my voice. Yes. His panic spiraled instantly. All of them. You sold all of them. My Louis Vuitton. My Prada jacket. The Gucci. Oh my God, the Gucci belt, Connie. What the hell? Connie, what? I got $7 on $200 total, I said calmly. You'll see each amount on the receipts. That cost me over $10,000, he shouted, flipping through each paper like they might magically transform back into designer leather. You stole from me. You destroyed my work computer, I replied. $3,000 of equipment that took me months to build. That's completely different. How, I asked? Because they were my bags, my collection. You can't just replace them. And you can't replace the custom-built PC, I said. We both lost something. He stared at me, stunned, furious, trying to calculate some angle, some argument he thought would prove me wrong. You had no right, Connie. No right to touch my stuff. That's theft. That's illegal. And what you did, destroying my computer and recording it, that wasn't illegal. It was a prank. A harmless prank. I raised an eyebrow. Do you know how many times you said, it's just a toy? Or touch grass? Or get your priorities straight? That's not the point. It is exactly the point. Carl suddenly stormed past me, snatching his phone off the counter and dialing someone. His mother. Of course. Mom, you're not going to believe this. Connie sold all my designer stuff. Yes, all of it. She stole from me. I could hear his mother's shrill voice through the speaker, even from across the room. What put me on speaker? He did. Connie, what have you done to my son? She screeched. You stole his belongings. Are you insane? I stayed calm. Your son destroyed my work computer for a prank video. That's different, she snapped immediately. That was content. You can buy another computer. And he can buy more bags, I said. You have no idea what those bags meant to him. They were gifts from family. I blinked slowly. Interesting, because I watched him purchase every single one, with his own card, while bragging about them online. Carl's mother faltered for half a second, but recovered fast. You're going to pay for what you did. Every cent. $10,000. I'm not paying anything, I said. I paid for my replacement PC using the money from items he left in my home after destroying my property. His mother gasped like I'd confessed to arson. This is theft and conversion of property. I am calling the police. Please do, I said. Carl and his mother both froze. What, she snapped. Call them. When they come, I'll show them the video Carl filmed of him destroying my computer. I'll show them the damage. I'll show the receipts. I will happily explain everything. Carl's face drained of color. He forgot that recording himself smashing my PC wasn't just a prank. It was evidence. "Mom," he whispered. "Carl," I said softly, "you wanted content. You got consequences." The silence that followed was long and suffocating. Finally, his mother hissed into the phone, "We're coming over." "Come ahead," I said. Half an hour later, Carl's mother barreled into the apartment like she owned it. Tanned skin, expensive athleisure diamond bracelet, flashing with every dramatic gesture. Exactly the type of person who believed luxury items defined character. "Where are my son's belongings?" she demanded. I pointed to the closet. "Gone. Sold. Receipts are there." She looked like she might faint. You've destroyed him." "No," I said. "He destroyed my livelihood. I simply replaced what he broke." "That computer cost you a few $1,000s. Those bags were worth more than my job." She stopped talking. "You're ridiculous," she finally spat. "You're petty. You're vindictive. You're cruel. A man would never do this." Ah, there it was. The truth. Not logic. Gender. Carl stared at me helpless, waiting for me to crumble under his mother's pressure. But I didn't. I stood there quietly, firmly grounded in the reality of what happened. "If you call the police," I said calmly, "make sure Carl shows them the video he took of him destroying my computer." His mother turned slowly to look at him. "Video," she repeated coldly. Carl swallowed. "Mom." It was a prank. Her face twisted. A prank with evidence. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. His mother exhaled sharply, then grabbed his arm. "Get your things. We're leaving. This woman is dangerous." He shot me one last look, confusion, anger, embarrassment, all swirling behind his eyes. "We're not done," he muttered. "I think we are," I said. But even then I knew something bigger was coming. Because when people like Carl lose control, they don't reflect. They retaliate. Carl didn't come back alone. When the knock sounded the next morning, sharp, authoritative, I already knew it wasn't him. Carl never knocked. He barged. He demanded. He announced. But the man standing in the doorway when I opened it was wearing a police uniform, looking like he'd already dealt with enough chaos for one day. "Ma'am," he said politely, "I'm Officer Reyes. I'm here for a civil standby." Behind him, Carl stood stiffly with crossed arms, and next to him was his mother. Arms folded, lips pursed tightly like she was preparing to argue her way into heaven. Carl's mother immediately pushed forward. "She's hiding his property. She stole and sold thousands of dollars worth of designer items. Arrest her." Officer Reyes raised a hand calmly. "Ma'am, this is a civil dispute. I'm not arresting anyone. I'm just here to supervise while Mr. Carter retrieves his belongings." "Belongings she didn't sell, you mean she snapped?" He looked at me. "Is that accurate, ma'am?" I nodded calmly. "He can collect whatever is still his. What's left?" Carl stared at me with pure resentment. "Whatever's left, you destroyed everything I worked for." I didn't react. "You destroyed my computer for a viral prank. I replaced it using what I had." Officer Reyes blinked. "Destroyed your computer?" "Yes," I replied evenly. He filmed himself knocking it over, breaking the cooling loop, damaging the components, bending the GPU. I'm sure he still has the footage. It was meant to go online. The officer turned slowly toward Carl. "Is that true?" Carl shifted nervously. "It was a joke content. People do prank videos all the time." "Was the damage expensive?" the officer asked me. "Over $3,000, I said. Reyes exhaled through his nose, tired already. "And you sold his items because—" "To replace the computer he destroyed," I replied. "That's not how this works," Carl's mother interjected. "Actually," Officer Reyes said without missing a beat, "that's closer to restitution than theft." The look on her face was priceless, shocked, offended, disbelieving. Restitution. "Those bags were limited edition, and so was her PC setup," he replied dryly. "Let's stay focused. Mr. Carter, retrieve your things." Carl stalked into the apartment, still fuming, and Officer Reyes followed him inside. Carl's mother lingered near the entrance, glaring holes into my skull. "This is abuse," she hissed quietly. "You're destroying my son's future, his career, his brand." "His career," I repeated. "He has 2,000 followers." "He's building something," she snapped. "You wouldn't understand. Some people are born for more than coding in dark rooms." That was when I realized where Carl learned to belittle people. "Your son destroyed my work equipment," I said firmly. "A prank doesn't erase consequences." She opened her mouth, but before she could spew another insult, another figure appeared at the end of the hallway, one I hadn't expected. Marissa Hale, Carl's ex-girlfriend. Stunning, poised, polished, wearing a neutral expression that hid something sharper underneath. I froze. "Why is she here?" Carl's mother replied quickly. "She's here to support him." Of course she was. Marissa stepped forward slowly. "I asked Carl if he needed help moving his stuff." Her eyes flicked toward me. I didn't know the situation was this. Her tone wasn't judgmental. If anything, she sounded resigned, familiar, like she'd been here before. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She watched Carl stomping around the apartment, gathering belongings while muttering insults under his breath, and her expression shifted just a fraction into something complicated, something almost pitying. Officer Reyes returned to the living room. "Ma'am, he's collecting his things. Once he's done, you'll both sign a confirmation that the retrieval is complete." "Fine," I said. While Carl packed, Marissa stood quietly in the hallway. Eventually, she approached me with a small, cautious distance between us. "I'm not here to fight you," she said, "or take sides. I just needed to see him." Why I asked, though, I already suspected the answer. She hesitated, then gave a humorless smile. "Because he pulled something similar on me once. Not with a computer, with something else I cared about." My stomach tightened. "He filmed it too," she continued softly. "Said it would boost engagement. It cost me a job opportunity I'd been working for. He laughed when I cried. He didn't think it mattered as long as the video performed." She let her gaze drift toward him again. "Some people need an audience more than they need a relationship." I stared at her. "Why didn't you warn me?" "I didn't know he was dating you until recently," she said. "And then he told me you were tougher than I was, that you could take it." She looked tired. I guess that was a lie. I said nothing, but something inside me settled because suddenly the puzzle made sense. Carl didn't make mistakes. He made patterns. Officer Reyes cleared his throat. "Time's up. Let's wrap this up." Carl marched out of the bedroom with boxes slamming each one on the floor as if that would hurt me. His mother fluttered behind him, offering dramatic commentary. When everything was finally carried out to his mother's car, Officer Reyes returned to me. "I need your signature here," he said, "and if he tries to retaliate, file a police report. You have all the documentation you need." I nodded and signed. "Thank you." He handed me his card. "Call if anything else happens." Honestly, my advice: block him everywhere. People like him don't handle consequences well. He wasn't wrong. An hour after they pulled out of the driveway, my phone buzzed. "Carl, you destroyed everything. My brand, my career, my reputation. You'll regret this." I stared at the message, and then a minute later, another. "Carl, I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. You think you won, watch how fast I turn people against you." I didn't respond, because deep down I knew something he didn't. People weren't turning against me. They were seeing exactly who he really was. Carl's threats didn't surprise me. What surprised me was how quickly he escalated once he realized I wasn't going to argue back. When someone like Carl loses control, they don't sit quietly with the discomfort. They scramble, claw, and flail, trying to rebuild their ego with whatever scraps of drama they can gather. By that evening, I started receiving the messages. Not from Carl, from his friends, from acquaintances I'd never met, from strangers who clearly hadn't been told the whole story. "You're abusive. You ruined his entire career. You're vindictive. He loved those bags. You need therapy. You owe him thousands." The pattern was obvious. Carl was telling them exactly what he wanted them to believe. I could practically hear the script in his voice. "She sold my stuff. She destroyed my future. She's crazy." But none of these people had seen the footage of him smashing my work computer with a smile on his face. None of them knew the way he'd brushed off $3,000 of damage as just content. And none of them knew about the officer's warning, or the receipts, or the fact that Carl had been warned about his behavior long before I ever entered his life. I didn't respond to most messages. The few I did answer, well, they quieted quickly after I explained the full sequence of events. Within a few hours, Carl blocked me on everything. Not before posting a vague heartbreak story on Instagram, complete with a black and white photo of himself looking out a window, as if he were grieving a tragedy rather than consequences. The caption read, "Sometimes the people you trust hurt you the most." His followers, what few, he had responded with the predictable wave of support. "You deserve better. Stay strong, King. She's toxic. She never supported your dreams." I almost laughed. To dreams, Carl's dream was to be noticed. The content didn't matter. The damage didn't matter. The fallout never mattered. The only thing that mattered to him was whether someone somewhere was watching. But then something unexpected happened. A mutual friend, someone who'd mostly stayed out of our relationship, messaged me. "Hey, did you see Carl's new video?" My stomach tightened. "What video?" "I think he posted it by accident." I clicked the link they sent. It was the footage. The actual footage he recorded the morning he destroyed my PC. Him knocking it over, him laughing, him zooming the camera in on the coolant spill, him saying, "This is going to blow up. Connie's gonna freak." No remorse, no hesitation, no concern. And apparently he had uploaded it onto a brand new social media account he'd created to start fresh. A rebrand, probably after he assumed I would expose him to his existing followers. He wanted a clean slate one without the drama attached to his name. But he made a mistake. The video had already reached strangers, and strangers didn't have loyalty to protect him. The comments were ruthless. Bruh, you destroyed your girlfriend's work setup and laughed. This isn't a prank, it's vandalism. She's a software developer. That's thousands of dollars. Why would you post evidence of your own wrongdoing? People get arrested for less. Yikes, this is manipulative. His attempt at starting over became the very thing that ended whatever credibility he had left. Within hours, the video spread beyond his tiny follower circle. Reddit got a hold of it. TikTok commentary accounts picked it up. Someone stitched it with screenshots of luxury resale receipts, likely from someone Carl complained to, who hadn't realized they were helping highlight the truth. His fresh start turned into the exact opposite. The next morning, I checked his profile instinctively. Gone. Deleted. Vanished. Later, one of Carl's own friends messaged me, not with accusations this time, but with a simple, almost embarrassed sentence. Okay, I didn't know he filmed that. I'm sorry. Other messages followed. Slowly, quietly, one by one. None of them said they were wrong, but silence, I learned, was its own kind of admission. Meanwhile, my life finally began to settle. My new PC ran smoother and faster than anything I'd built before. The upgraded cooling system was quieter than a whisper. My office, once a scene of destruction, felt peaceful again, like a space that belonged to me and me alone. Work became easier. My focus returned. My home felt different, lighter, without Carl's constant chaos. A few days later, I got a text from Marissa. I saw what happened online. If it helps. He did the same to me. He'll move on to someone else eventually, but at least you stopped the cycle with you. I stared at the message for a long moment before replying. Thank you. And I meant it. Because something shifted in me the moment I realized Carl wasn't a one-time mistake, he was a pattern I stepped out of before it became worse. One night I sat at my desk adjusting the RGB lighting on my new system. Colors washed across the case in waves, blue to purple to gold. The hum of the fans filled the quiet room like a soft heartbeat. I leaned back in my Herman Miller chair, closed my eyes, and let the calm settle into my bones. Carl had wanted content. He had wanted views. He had wanted the world to watch him rise. Instead, the world watched him fall on his own recording by his own hands. He wanted fame. He got consequences. I didn't need revenge. I